How motorsports bills die. So now this bill popped up the other day in my feed, and it was from SEMA PRI. They had somebody talking about this bill, and I was like, oh wow, it's really interesting. It is called the Motorsports Fairness and Permanency Act, and I was like, oh cool. Like, let me dig into this a little bit. Like, I'll try to share it with the people. I haven't heard of this. It's all about racetracks and tax exemptions and shortening their write-off period, and I'll go into that a little bit later, but I was like, oh, let me dig into this. And the bill that they were talking about, that they just talked about, hadn't been anything since 2023. It kind of just fell flat. They were introduced into Congress, and then it just kind of meh. And then digging farther, it's been introduced many times and just died, gone nowhere. They just keep introducing it to nothing. So it was introduced in 2023, 2021, 2018, 2015, 2011, 2009, and 2007 by 1, 2, 3 different people over those years. So Debbie, shout out to you from Michigan. She keeps trying, but it kind of keeps falling flat. And then also introduced by, just a few different people. But it just keeps falling flat, unfortunately. And now I was surprised to hear somebody talk about this, because to me, it seems like it's flatlined. Unless there's news about what, if it's going to come back and be resurrected and saved, it seems like a nothing burger. I mean, it's been introduced like 12 times now and just nothing has happened. So maybe it needs to be completely rewritten or changed in some way, or nothing's going to happen. I don't know. Of course, every Congress is slightly different and maybe things will happen, but I always assume nothing ever happens. So what the act does, the act would make permanent a specific tax rule that lets motorsports entertainment complexes, aka racetracks, write off the cost of their property faster. So normally it's over a 15 to 39 year period, you can write off the expenses of the property. They're trying to shorten that to 7 years to write off the expenses, and then that would allow them to write off and deduct more things because they wouldn't be hit with that same tax burden, is the way I understand it. So they can, depreciate the racetrack faster and write that off so that they can have more money in their pocket and more depreciatable ability to write off and depreciate new upgrades and maintenance and things like that. So they're not just focused on depreciating and writing off the property and the property taxes and all that stuff. Sounds great. I mean, or you could just eliminate all the taxes altogether, one or the other. Seems like my answer works a little easier. But nothing's happening. So it is just sitting there on the website. You can go find it yourself and read it. It doesn't have a whole lot into it. It's S2462. The hope would be that this would allow track owners to invest in the facility, but obviously that's not happening. And even though this has had bipartisan support, it's still just not happening. Some of the reasons, tax legislation often competes with other pressing issues, and specialized provisions like those for motorsports complexes may not be prioritized, of course. Economic considerations, concerns about the fiscal impacts of granting permanent tax benefits can lead to hesitance among lawmakers. They don't want to give anybody a tax break. And political dynamics shift in the political landscape, and differing views on tax policy can affect the bill's momentum. So that's where it ends. The temporary provision for accelerated depreciation is set to expire on December 31st, 2025, prompting renewed efforts to make it permanent. So it is currently in place as a temporary provision, but on December 31st, 2025, that does expire. So they need to do something realistically to make it, either make it reality and not temporary, or just push the temporary like they always tend to do. But they are running out of time, and they really need to kind of figure something out here. And it says right here, if the provision expires without legislative action, depreciation periods for racetrack assets would revert to longer timelines. Approximately 1/3 of assets would be classified under the 39-year depreciation period and 2/3 under the 15-year period. This could significantly impact the financial planning and investment strategies of racetracks. So, right now, they are able to use this 7-year rule, but on the 31st of December this year, it evaporates and it's gone. And then they revert back to this long-term thing, which could really hinder the racetrack's ability to, do improvements and even just save money in general. Even if they're not putting money into things, they're just saving money by depreciating the property. So, unfortunately, we'll see how this rolls, but it's called the Motorsports Fairness and Permanency Act. And it's just been kicked and kicked and kicked and kicked. And hopefully something happens because the racetracks could really use this. And maybe everyone could. Maybe it shouldn't just be the racetracks. I don't know. Maybe all businesses should be able to depreciate their assets faster. I don't know. Maybe we should just get rid of, taxes altogether. Just a simple idea, Not trying to reinvent the wheel here with some complex issue. But this is what is going on, and hopefully the bill comes back to life because they don't really have a whole lot of time left. So we'll see what happens. Check out the bill. I will link it below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time.